Sorcerers are born with strange and powerful gifts in the form of spellcasting. Their spells can be amplified and supplemented with the right selection of magic items, giving a sorcerer who chooses wisely an edge over those who picks at random. And starting off our list a little clammy at number 10, we have the Pearl of Power with the Dungeon Master's Guide. This uncommon item lets you spend an activation saying its command word and drawing on its power, restoring you a spell slot of up to 3rd level once per day. This might seem unremarkable at first, but if you get this item up to 6th level, you can get 1 extra spell slot of your high spell level every day. That can give you 1 more fireball to destroy your opposition, or 1 extra casting of fly for escaping over ravines or gorges. Even better, if you have counterspell, you can use your action on your turn restoring your 3rd level spell slot, freeing your reaction to counter whatever magic an enemy spellcaster brings to the table, preventing them from removing you or your teammates from the fight. This item's utility is its strongest power, letting you choose to lose an action to regain a spell slot at any time throughout the day. This means if you are in dire straits in combat, you can use it then, or if you're planning an ambush, you can use it right after casting a spell of preparation, ensuring you go into conflict still full of spells. At higher levels, this item becomes a little less useful, though still worth keeping around, and it does require you to use one of your attunement slots on it, which is why it only occupies the number 10 spot. Giving off incredibly dark vibes at number 9, we have the Shadowfell Shard from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. While this rare item requires attunement, it gives powerful benefits while attuned. You can attach it to another item as an action, and you can use it as a spellcasting focus while it's held or worn. So long as you have it held or worn, you can curse 1 creature targeted by a spell that you're using metamagic on, giving them disadvantage on ability checks and saves with the ability score of your choice for a round. This is just a free benefit added to your metamagic, as long as you have this crystal on you. Since the turn player determines the order of operations for effects that happen at the same time, you can use this with Quick and Hold Person, granting disadvantage on wisdom checks and saves, including to the hold person that you just cast, making it all but impossible for your foe to succeed. And once they do, you still have your action to lay into them with your cantrip while they're being held by the spell. Because this curse doesn't require a roll, a resource, or a save, this will always apply even if you miss with a spell attack, or the target saves against your spell save DC. It can even line things up for a later party member to capitalize on. If you have another spellcaster in the party, this disadvantage applies not to the next roll, but to the rest of the round. You can capitalize on it with a fireball, and then your wizard friend can capitalize on it with a lightning bolt, giving your opponent almost no odds of surviving a full cannon from your party. And because this can be attached to a weapon or piece of jewelry like an amulet or a ring, you can attach it to another magic item and reduce the number of things you need to carry or wear. Stylish and protective at number 8, we have the Barrier Tattoo from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. This needle becomes a magic tattoo by tuning it and pressing it to your skin, giving you AC based on the rarity of the tattoo. An uncommon tattoo gives you armor like studded leather, the rare version gives armor like half plate, and the very rare version gives armor like full plate. However, none of the downsides are given. You are not considered to be wearing armor for spellcasting, nor are you given disadvantage on stealth checks. This is especially useful for any sorcerer that did not choose Draconic Bloodline, giving you often similar AC to casting of a mage armor spell without requiring it, whereas the Draconic Bloodline always effectively has mage armor active due to the Draconic resilience. Sorcerers are very limited with their spell selection, having both a small list and also only knowing a limited selection of it. Because they don't prepare spells, and instead have every spell known prepared at all times, it is very important to be judicious with your spell selection. If you can save a spell known or exchange one out later by getting a magic item that can produce a similar effect to a spell, it is worth the exchange to give you any amount of flexibility as a sorcerer. And keeping a little bit of your blood for later at number 7, we have the Bloodwell Vial from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. This item can only be used by sorcerers and is a spellcasting focus, which gives a bonus to your spell attack rolls and save DCs based on its rarity, from a +1 at uncommon to a +3 at very rare. This by itself is very powerful, as getting flat bonuses is highly rare in 5th edition, and the developers preferring to grant advantage whenever possible. However, the use of this item doesn't stop there. When you roll hit dice to recover HP while carrying it, you also regain 5 sorcery points, but only once each day. What this means is when you take a short rest, you will also regain 5 sorcery points if you spend at least 1 hit die. This lets you use any of the metamagic in additional time, and some of them more than once. You can quicken 2 more spells, casting them as a bonus action, or double the distance of 5 more spells through the day. And don't forget that cantrips are counted as spells, so all of these benefits apply to them as well. You can use metamagic on them for extra sorcery points even if you run out of spell slots, or even convert the 5 sorcery points into 3rd level spell slot if you so choose. Because of this, the Bloodwell Vial is like a pearl of power that is more flexible, and also gives you a bonus to your spell attacks and saves. This item is well worth considering for your next sorcerer. And bellowing its way to number 6 of the roar, we have the Gem Dragon Touched Focus from Fizban's Treasury of Dragons. These focuses can take many shapes and forms, from scepter to orb to amulet and more, but they all share their magic in common with one another. The power of the item is determined by the age of the dragon whose hoard you got it from. The slumbering version of this item is uncommon and can be found anywhere, giving you advantage on initiative and functioning as a spellcasting focus for your spells. This, by itself, is very powerful. Advantage on initiative gives you much higher chances of going first, letting you act before your enemies get a chance to. The rare stirring version, found in Young Dragon's Hoard, also gets an additional bonus based on whose hoard it was in. Because this focus was found in the hoard of a gem dragon, like an emerald or sapphire dragon, it also allows you to teleport up to 15 feet whenever you use a spell slot to cast a spell. Teleportation is rare and powerful, and this teleportation is half the distance of a Misty Step, a 2nd level spell, but requires no extra resources or actions to use, simply giving you free mobility every time you cast a spell. And if you stack this with a cast of Misty Step, you essentially get 45 feet of free teleportation. And we're not done yet though, because there is also a awakened version, very rare, and found in the hoard of an adult dragon. This gives you an additional 2 spells to cast once per day each, without needing one of your spell slots. Telepathic Bond, which links up to 8 creatures with telepathy that works over any distance, and Rolithim Psychic Lance, which requires an intelligence saving throw and deals 76 psychic damage to the target plus incapacitates them, effectively letting you beat up on them without them being able to do anything back. The Ascended version of the Dragon Touch Focus, a legendary item acquired from an ancient dragon's hoard, is the peak form it can take. This gives every other benefit and also allows you to treat a spell you cast with a spell slot of 1st level or higher as if it was cast with a 9th level spell slot once per day. This means you will get maximum benefit out of a spell that scales with the level of the spell slot used, but doesn't require anything beyond the level of the spell cast. For example, a Fireball cast this way will deal an extra 66 damage while still using a 3rd level spell slot. Or a Hold Person cast this way will be able to paralyze 8 total targets for only a single 2nd level slot. This means that the Ascended Gem Dragon Touch Focus is exceptionally powerful and well worth making a deal with the Gem Dragon to acquire, but even a lower tier version of this item is worth seeking out to strengthen your utility. And keeping you snug as a bug on a rug, at number 5, we have the Robe of the Archmagi from the Dungeon's Master's Guide. This robe, a legendary item colored based on the alignment it was meant to be worn by, grants the attuned spellcaster of the correct alignment AC equal to 15 plus a dexterity modifier to better than mage armor. It also gives you advantage on saving throws against spells and other magical effects, which is stronger than Yuan-Ti's magic resistance that only protects from spells specifically. And lastly, it grants a +2 to spell attacks and spell saves, which stacks with other similar bonuses, such as from the Bloodwell Vial. This means that this item is an all-rounder, granting you defenses and offenses in equal measure. The magic protection gives you an upper hand against other spellcasters, the armor gives you less of a chance to be hit by archers and melee combatants that charge you, and the bonus to spell attacks and saves means your spells are going to be more likely to succeed on impacting your foes. This best of all worlds situation makes the Robe of the Archmagi very powerful as an item for sorcerers to add to their collection. A much beloved wardrobe item that your sorcerer will feel undressed without, like going to a ball without either a tuxedo or a gown. Proving that reading isn't just for wizards, at number 4, we have the Tome of Leadership and Influence. This book is a very rare find, but if you stumble across it, it is one of the best items you could ever find, because reading it over the span of 6 days or less gives you a permanent bonus of +2 charisma score. Now, that seems underwhelming at first blush, right? Just a +2 charisma score, no big deal. But this increases not only the score, but also the ability score maximum, no matter what it was before. If you had a 20, you now have a 22. If you somehow had a 24, it is now a 26, no questions asked. And this book doesn't need attunement, so its magic works on you permanently, doesn't need one of your 3 attunement slots, and increases the maximum. That's a free +1 to charisma skills like Intimidation to tell your foes to back off before you incinerate them, or to Deception to convince the guards that really this fancy robe you're walking around in is just a fashion statement and nothing more. It's also a +1 to all your spell saves and spell attacks for a sorcerer, which is very powerful, and applies even if you have all of your items stolen from you. Because of this, the Tome of Leadership and Influence is a book you wouldn't want to skip out on studying. Just don't let the wizard find out that you're studying, or they'll never let you live it down. A gift that you'll be glad to sell your hair or gold pocket watch to be able to afford. At number 3, we have the Staff of the Magi from the Dungeons Master's Guide. This legendary staff can be used as a magic quarterstaff that gives you +2 to attack and damage rolls made with it. If you're a combat sorcerer, you might appreciate this. However, even if you're not, the rest of the staff's benefits will make you at least give an approving nod. While you're holding it, you get a +2 bonus to your spell attack rolls. Because all bonuses stack, this means a melee cantrip, such as a Green Flame Blade, will be able to use this staff and get a +4 to its attack roll and a +2 to its damage roll. In addition, while holding the staff, you have advantage on saves against spells and can use a reaction when a creature casts a spell targeting only you, giving the staff a number of charges back equal to the spell's level. The maximum number of charges the staff can hold is 50 at a time, and you can use them to cast any of the 13 spells that the staff has. This gives you access to area denial spells like Web to entangle foes, and Wall of Fire to make hallways effectively impassable. Damage dealers like 7th level Fireball or 7th level Lightning Bolt, or utility spells like Knock for locks, including magical ones, or Plane Shift for moving anywhere in the universe you feel like going. It also has a number of spells you can cast without any charges, like Detect Magic for seeing what magic items or traps are nearby, or Arcane Lock for locking the doors magically that you don't want someone barging in through. If you're backed into a corner with no way out and you have a whole army descending on you, you can also shatter the staff with an action, dealing damage based on the number of charges to everything within 30 feet. This damage scales based on the distance. This does mean, though, unfortunately, you will be taking the brunt of this damage and almost certainly perishing, unless you win a coin flip and are sent to a random plane of existence instead, which could be anywhere from Elysium to the elemental plane of fire, as determined by your DM. Now, remember when I said the staff can absorb magic and has a maximum number of charges? If you absorb a spell and bring the staff above 50 charges, it explodes exactly the same as if you had broken it manually, but for even more damage. So do your best to not let that happen if you ever get your hands on one of these staffs. Cackling madly in the corner at number 2, we have the Jester's Mask from the Book of Many Things. This legendary Harlequin mask can be used as a spellcasting focus and gives you a +3 bonus to all spell attack rolls and spell saves that use charisma, like sorcerer spells for instance. Because this bonus stacks with any of the other items on this list, it can prove useful even if you already have the Robe of the Archmagi or the Staff of the Magi, making your spells all but impossible to avoid or withstand. If you happen to get within harm's way while wearing the mask, and a creature hits you with an attack roll of any kind, you can use a reaction to take no damage and teleport to an open space within 30 feet of you, exactly as if you had cast Misty Step, but without casting a spell. You can only do that once per day, but if it avoids a rogue getting a sneak attack on you, it can be very, very worth it. If you happen to get a natural 1 on any roll you make while wearing it once per day, you can look at the die and gaslight it into thinking it rolled a natural 20 instead, treating the result that way, including getting a critical hit on an attack roll to spell, if that's what you were doing. Now, because the item description doesn't specify that the 1 has to be the final result, that means if you're rolling with advantage and one of the rolls of the dice is a natural 1, you can use it to then treat the roll as a natural 20 as well. And you can even use it with disadvantage to make your other roll the roll you use. If you get a 13 and a 1 with disadvantage, you can use a 13 and make it much less likely you'll fail miserably. Because of that, this item has incredible utility and power, which is almost enough to bring it to the top of this list, but it's second to the most powerful item for sorcerers. And proving that dragons are a great role model at number 1, we have the Red Dragon Mask from the Tyranny of Dragons. So long as you main attunement and wear it, this legendary item gives you resistance to fire damage, immunity if you already had resistance, or lets you regain half the damage dealt to you if you are already immune to fire. It also gives you the ability to add your charisma bonus to AC as an extra bonus, so long as you aren't wearing armor. If you're a dragonborn or otherwise have a breath weapon that recharges on rest, it gives you a recharge 6, meaning at the start of each of your turns you roll a 1d6, and on a result of 6 you can use it again. You also get dark vision out to 60 feet, or an extra 60 feet if you already have it, and get blind sight out to 30 feet for 5 minutes once per day, letting you see anything within 30 feet of you, even if it's invisible. If you couldn't speak Draconic, you can now speak Draconic, and you get advantage on charisma checks against red dragons. Once per day, if you fail a saving throw, you can choose to succeed instead. And when you deal fire damage, such as with a firebolt or a fireball, you can light any creature that takes damage this way on fire, dealing an extra 1d6 fire damage every turn until they put themselves out with an action. This item gives you a lot of extreme value for a single attunement slot, making you almost a micro dragon with its power. A dragonborn sorcerer using this mask gets even more potent with it, able to use their breath weapon a limitless number of times per day. If you're caught within your own fireball or an enemy's, you are guaranteed to take half or no damage, depending on whether you already had fire resistance. A red dragonborn with this mask can drop a fireball on top of themselves without fearing taking a single point of damage. The extra AC stacks with other benefits, like the Robe of the Archmagi's 15 plus dexterity, or the Draconic's Ancestry 13 plus dexterity, since neither counts as armor being worn, easily giving you an AC as high as 20 or more, without any armor or shields. The Dark Vision improves your ability to detect foes, and Blind Sight guarantees your ability to see anything that would try to approach you invisibly. If you happen to be targeted by an enemy spellcaster with something like a hold person and fail the saving throw, you can look your DM in the eyes and say, "Legendary resistance, I choose to succeed instead," much like they would when you might face a legendary resistance foe, keeping you from being taken out of the fight. And lighting your enemies on fire from any fire damage includes your breath weapon as a Dragonborn sorcerer, if you have one. But even if you don't, it includes fire damage from cantrips like Firebolt or Green Flame Blade, or from your fireballs or Scorching Rays. Unlike most other items and bonuses of the type, because this mask is legendary, it applies to every creature and flammable object hit by your fire damage instead of forcing you to pick one. All of this together makes this item the absolute best item for any sorcerer, but particularly for those with Draconic ancestry themselves. Alright, and those are the best items you can ask for a sorcerer. Do you have any other items you think sorcerers can't live without, or any items you'd really like to play with? If so, let us know down in the comments below.